Live. Welcome to the Valvoline Cup Series, NASCAR 25 talk show or podcast. I just realized I forgot to use the podcast logo you sent me. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about the Valvoline Cup Series on here, if you could guess that. I'm joined by Mr. Mr. Pumpy Lumpy, as they like to call him on the track.
All right. On the track, eh?
On the track, they like to call him that.
Do they?
They do. Anyway, we're 3 races into the season. We've had 21 entrants into the races this season so far, 21 total drivers. And the points are getting... I was about to say they're getting spread out, but they're not really spread out at the cut line. If you want to look at the points with me here, Pumps, we have Chicken +5 on the playoff bubble and Sam 5 points right below it with 67 points.
Oh.
We can start off with some bubble battle. I mean, we're early in the season. But do you predict that these two are going to continue to battle for the bubble, or do you think someone like NLS or G Cool or Valvac, maybe even Nedzo? I don't know, some names that are decently fast.
I think maybe if Nedzo starts showing up to races, he could be up there. For sure, some other drivers. I know Joshua has been consistent. Known him for a little while. He could, if he keeps showing up like that, he could throw a Cinderella story out there.
That would be a magical win for him, first win that he would get in Valvoline. We saw something similar to that at Daytona, so we can switch the topic here to Daytona. Maybe we'll come back to playoffs, but at Daytona we saw Irish XFL come in his first ever Valvoline Racing Series start and kind of dominated the strategy. I wouldn't say dominated the day. He didn't lead the most laps, I don't believe, but he definitely had the right mindset for strategy all day long. Kind of knew what he was doing. So, what do you think about Irish?
Well, he left.
Yeah, but we're still we're respecting the rookie. He did leave. He's not going to win the championship, but he did win one of the biggest races you can in league racing.
His strategy just played out perfectly, and whatever he did it right with his friend and his teammate. They both kind of just pulled up there with strategy, and it worked out.
And they must have been able to. They might have, when it was packed at the start of the restarts, they must have just dropped back and saved fuel, and that was the perfect idea. I don't know how he read how the race would go. I thought there would be a lot more pack racing than there was, but I think the pit stops just spread us out a lot more than I thought. So he played it perfectly. What do you think about Atlanta, Pumps?
Atlanta was a little off because some drivers, I guess they couldn't see in the dark or something because they were a little chaotic. That race was wild. The finish was odd with the caution coming out. Cade pulled away at a super speedway for a little bit, or just stayed in the front almost all race, at least played the strategies right. He did nothing wrong, but still didn't get the win.
And that's got to be super speedway racing, isn't it? You could do everything right. You could be there when you think it matters most, but last second, last lap, something crazy can happen, just like that 3-wide pass. I did feel in the moment I wanted to make a move. I was hoping that they wouldn't wreck, but I'm kind of glad that they do now. Looking back at that, you guys did wreck. Looking back at it, not happy that it was both of my teammates and also both my cars that I own, but it was a mixed feelings for that race. I know you were frustrated with G Cool. I do want to ask you a question. Have you worked it out with him, or are you just kind of hoping or do you think it's done? Have you talked to G Cool?
Well, I can't blame him. He's just that one night when it was the 5 of us in the VC after the race after Phoenix, he was I was hey G Cool, it's just me and you now, in a normal voice, and then he was oh, I like where this is going, my boy. And that kind of scared me a little bit. Going to the next race, I think he might do something.
Maybe not wrecking you or bumping you, but kind of something else you're thinking, right?
Maybe something along those lines, but a little realistic.
A little different. A little maybe not inside the car, on the track. Well,
Anyways,
Atlanta was a crazy race, and luckily we had back-to-back super speedways to start the season, and we go a good stretch of races here. We have quite a few races until our final super speedway of the year, which is Daytona, race 13. We're only on race 4, so we have a good stretch there. Speaking of that stretch, it started with Phoenix last Friday. What were your thoughts on the Phoenix race that we had this past weekend?
from my perspective, or from
What I
like
mean,
the
you
racing in
could do
general,
both. You could do both perspectives.
for me it was kind of terrible. I mean, I was kind of just being spun all race, and my car wasn't even good. I was stuck seventh place, sixth place, sixth, seventh place, and then it didn't let me pit. Well, it let me pit, but then it didn't give me any gas or any tires or anything. Or maybe it didn't let me pit at all. I don't remember, but that didn't work out. So hopefully next week I can do something and maybe get into the top three at least.
Yeah, definitely
But
some.
for racing in general, that looked really good. I
I
mean,
feel like it was a good race. Like kind of like you're able to drive around, kind of be able to have like some actually clean racing, which is definitely refreshing after Atlanta. So it was very nice to be able to see some of the faster cars be up front. Definitely some outliers like you and NLS both had big problems. Both of you guys finished near the bottom of the board, but
all
it
of
was
Mouse
still refreshing.
Motorsports too.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean
for
we
example, G Cool went 2 laps down, and then you messed up your pit
yeah,
strategy when having a shot to win.
yeah we choked the day there for sure. We could have had a chance. I mean you almost won a stage with your
I
strategy.
yeah, I got second, and I was gonna push, but then the caution came out.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was still a good strategy. I thought you would have fallen back a lot more, but at that point, I was thinking all three of us could have had a good day. But actually, I do remember something. G Cool wrecked on the first lap because I got pushed. I got put up into the wall on the first lap, first couple corners, I believe, and then I fell back to 13th. G Cool was back there, and I think he made us some contact. He spun around, so that had a terrible time to his day. And if you're on Instagram, you could have seen this graphic that the league posted about G Cool's terrible start. He didn't even start the Daytona 500. Finished ninth at Atlanta after that wreck on the last lap, and then runs 12th, multiple laps down most of the day at Phoenix. How do you think G Cool is going to turn this around to like be in contention for anything? We know him as a front runner. How do you think he's going to flip this around?
You know, he just has to. At Richmond, he could pull a. Maybe if he's like somewhere in the running at Richmond, he could pull a G Cool and hopefully not get the win taken away this time and hand it to me. But that's one of the possibilities, or one of the things he could do. I think if he can just run somewhat consistent, he should be able to make the playoffs since not everyone always shows up. But I think G Cool is capable of turning this around.
I definitely think if there's one guy in the below the cut line that needs to turn around, you can count it on. You can count on Jake Cole to be able to turn that around. He's had quite the career in Valvoline. You know, he's made the championship four a couple of times in some of the past series on NASCAR Heat 5. You know, this obviously the first season on NASCAR 25 for all of us. You know, maybe he's still adapting, but maybe it's the luck because he's gotten involved in some wrecks. But someone else that needs quite the turnaround, it's not even because of luck or skill, it's because he's missed some races. That's NLS with only 37 points, 15th on the board. We know him for being super fast and in contention. Phoenix was the time for him to capitalize. He might have choked that away. He needed a good result at Phoenix, don't you think?
For sure. I think NLS is definitely a winner in NASCAR 25. We've came to that point, and I'm sure he's gonna get better in Valvoline and for sure pass most of the people above him. Like, yeah.
He should be able to make up quite some ground here. You know, there's quite a few drivers ahead of him that aren't super consistent. So if he stays consistent, he'll be able to get a lot of points. But he's definitely circled the next race on the calendar, Nashville Super Speedway for the Ally 400. He loves that racetrack. He keeps on telling everybody how fast he is there. And speaking of that, how do you think Nashville could go this upcoming Friday night?
I don't know. I'm looking at NASCAR F1 fan in the points here. He's off of consistency, I guess, in second place in the points.
Yes, for
That
sure.
is that's great for him. If he can keep that up at Nashville, then I think he could have a serious shot to win this championship. I mean, like, no one's talking about him. No one's even said a peep about him really recently. But he's kind of just sneaking up there, like really up there.
I agree with that. One of the most underrated seasons so far is NASCAR F1 fan. He started off, he got good enough result in the 500, survived Atlanta with a second place finish, and then I think he had a couple issues at Phoenix, but he worked around it to and worked around the other issues that some of the front runners had to have a good finish there as well. So the consistency is definitely there. The stage points are there. He's doing everything right, and it's showing. Second in points. Milk is kind of inconsistent. That being me, I could definitely mess up at some of these next races. And I definitely feel like he's got to be one of the most consistent people in Valvoline. He's always been really good at just finishing where the speed is, executing when he needs to. You never think of F1 fan as a choke artist or someone who's kind of dominating the day and then lets it slip. But he's got to be one of the most consistent guys, and he can definitely be the underdog for this championship.
Yeah, for sure. As long as he doesn't get into any conflict with anyone. Like the last 2 seasons I've done in Valvoline, we've always had some run-ins, but if he's gonna be this fast, I'm not sure if I'll be able to catch him now.
And yeah, I feel like being this fast can give him some extra motivation to try to stay out of those incidents. You don't need any extra excessive penalties to ruin your season or your momentum. And there is one guy behind NASCAR F1 fan, one spot below him. That's Cade. Went from ninth to third in the points after just one race. That's kind of crazy to me.
That is Cade things.
That's
Cade
definitely Cade
runs
things.
off Frosted Flakes for breakfast, lunch, supper, and something that Tony the Tiger does gives him speed in his car. Like, are we sure that Cade is the one driving the car? Are we sure it's not Tony?
I don't think we have any evidence or proof to prove that it's not to prove that it's Tony, but I mean, we could definitely make some assumptions. I assume it's got to be Tony making, like, it's got to be at least his crew chief is Tony talking up there, making some of these decisions and like setup calls because he has been fast. Like, he was red hot at Phoenix. Bryce was arguing that Bryce had the fastest car and that Cade was just a little step below him, but Cade executed perfectly. I don't think. I mean, he might have not been able to win the race, but that was because of a risky call by me. But he dominated the day.
Didn't Bryce pit in qualifying?
No, he didn't. He didn't pit in qualifying. I mean, there was some controversy at the start of the qualifying that he might have been using the wall to gain some speed, and Cade thinks he was using the wall. Bryce obviously says he wasn't, but that's a controversy that only really gained Bryce 5 points and didn't really work out for him that much. But we don't have any clips. I mean, the league didn't have any clips of it to look thoroughly into that incident, but anything in the future, we'll definitely look at closer. And speaking of Bryce, he's 1 point below Cade. And, the allegations, especially on NASCAR Heat 5 at the end of that game, Bryce was known as the washed guy, the past champion who just couldn't do it anymore. Everyone thought his focus has shifted to iRacing, but now he might be back.
He is up there now after a rough last season in Heat 5, though. Maybe it was just us saying that he was washed, or maybe it was his own foolishness moving over to 100% worse game of iRacing over the best game ever, NASCAR Heat 5.
Yeah, terrible decision.
Definitely a completely different car, completely a different game, and yeah, I mean, he's still doing iRacing and stuff, which is really good for him. And the thing that probably helps him is the iRacing practice going into this game, considering how similar this game is to iRacing, since it's made by iRacing.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely think iRacing giving him an advantage. He's won 6 championships in Valvoline alone, so I think he knows what to do to be competitive, to be fast, and with the updated physics engine of NASCAR 25, he's able to showcase his skills more on this game. And I think Bryce is going to be a serious contender for this championship. I thought he would still be washed. I thought his priorities still wouldn't be straight. But looking at Nashville, Charlotte, Richmond, the Glen especially, like these next few races, I feel like he could win them all.
I don't know about going that far, but he can definitely be consistent in all of them. Like, we haven't raced everyone in this game yet. Like, especially Bryce, he hasn't done very much here.
That is a good point. I definitely didn't think about that. There's definitely a lot of unknowns to still explore on this new game. Looking at the points once again, we have kind of a driver that came out of nowhere to start this season. Fifth in points, ESMN, only a few points off from being third in points. What happened? He was known as the choke artist across all leagues. One good run at Phoenix, and it's all back.
Yeah, well, ESMN is gonna cook in Valvoline.
I definitely think he's going to be a strong contender to make the playoffs. And
Who's your win prediction for next race?
the win prediction, that's a sharp turn to a new topic. But my win prediction, I mean, I've got to either go Cade or NLS. I mean, I don't want to glaze myself, but I don't know if I'll have the speed to contend with Cade or NLS. And, I'm going to give the advantage to NLS here. He's had so much more experience on NASCAR 25 than Cade has because of all these leagues he's done. He already has over 12 wins on the game. So he knows what it takes to win. He knows what it takes to drive fast at Nashville. I think there's no one more perfect to win this next race than there is NLS. Driver the number 57 Ford.
I I think I'm gonna go with driver of the number 11 current points leader. I'm gonna go with you. I think you're gonna have some consistency at Nashville. I don't think you're gonna win a stage, but I think you're gonna get the race win. Maybe maybe Cade and NLS or Bryson NLS is gonna share the stage wins or something along those lines, and then
Yeah.
you can come and hopefully be running top 3 all day, and then take the win.
I see that happening for sure. I know I'll have contention, speed to be in contention. I was just a little worried on the speed that my competitors will have, but I definitely do see what you're saying. I know I'll be fast and I'll be able to adapt. And, it's just going to be a tough race. I mean, it's one of the longer races. 75 laps at Nashville. That's not a short sprint. That's getting up there in the laps. And an underdog I have to go is probably honestly you. You've had some bad luck to start this season, but I feel like Nashville is one of those traditional tracks, and we've seen your speed on these intermediate tracks. I want to give you a little interview question here. Do you think these intermediates coming up, especially Nashville and then Charlotte, back-to-back 1.5 milers, do you think you can use that to kind of right the ship and get right in the points?
Yeah, I wanna. Okay, well, I wanna try to get up there and battle up in the intermediates. I don't want to be with the back of the pack or anything. I want to be able to show my speed in a actual Valvoline race, which I haven't been able to do yet. But I've been practicing on these road courses, trying to figure out anything I can there. I've had my race circled is the Zay is Gay Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. What about you?
I mean, my race circled is got to be Iowa Speedway for the Iowa Corn 350. That's a home race for me. It's definitely a new track for a lot of drivers, especially in the Cup car. So it'll be very fun to see Valvoline Cup Series head to Iowa for the first time in a points-paying race. That's got to be my race circled. For the racing product, for my chances to win, I think for everything. I love Iowa. I think that and Richmond, honestly. I love short tracks. I think short tracks put on some of the best shows in this league's history. But, I just love short tracks. I think they're awesome. And I love that we also get to see Bristol and North Wilkesboro later in the schedule.
Now, Bristol and North Wilkesboro are both quite similar to Iowa. They're just like a lot smaller. I think
I see
Wilkesboro
that.
being in the Cup cars is a big twist. That's a big twist. And with only 4 gears there for some reason, that's gonna throw some drivers off. Hopefully, well, hopefully.
I could throw a wild
But
card into it.
what's been on my mind here is how Miami is 67 laps.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, that race distance has been famous for a lot of 1.5 milers, especially the finale at Miami. It's been 67 laps for a lot of seasons now, so I think it's established itself as the perfect race distance. I mean, if you're fast, you'll be up there at the end. You'll be able to contend all day. Plenty of time to make moves. Still seems kind of like a short distance, but definitely still plenty of time to have a good racing product. There is one race right before that I think we should touch up on. I think probably the longest on the season. Maybe behind Charlotte, but the Southern 500, 92 laps around Darlington. What do you think about that one?
If it's gonna be anything like last season, which it probably won't be, then there'll be some domination up in the front, lots of wrecks in the back, and then some fuel strategy at the end, which isn't a bad race. But who knows how it's going to turn out in this new game with how easy it is to spin and loose the car just out of your hands, out of the wheel. I wonder, do you think these new drivers are going to be able to adapt?
I think it'll definitely become more of a skill based race to win and lose. I definitely think if you're better at the game, you'll be up front more than some of the drivers that are new to racing. And I definitely think some of those newer drivers that you were saying they're probably gonna lack a little bit unless they're able to practice or have a lot of free time to be able to figure this game out. They're going to be a little bit behind of some of these other drivers up top in the standings that kind of have the time to figure things out, have the time to adapt to this new game, and already have been showing that through their results and performances so far in this season.
Something I kind of want to touch on here, speaking of newer drivers when it comes to like the end era of Heat 5, Mopar has been just above the mid pack area, like just faster than mid pack, not quite front. I think he is certainly capable of maybe pulling off a win sometime, like I used to do. Heat 5, like Bristol or Richmond.
I agree with that. Mopar has definitely shown some good performance, good speed out of that car. I know recently he's been talking on the media about how his luck hasn't been good or he hasn't been able to put the whole race together and he knows he has the speed. I definitely agree with all those statements he's saying. He's been one of the most shocking stories to me on the opening of this NASCAR 25 game. I think he has the pace to just slowly get better. Like he'll just get better and I feel like eventually he'll be able to be a serious contender just by seeing how others drive and how other people race the tracks and just he'll be able to adapt to that. I feel like Mopar is one of the most adaptable drivers I know. He doesn't have that many NASCAR. He doesn't have that many league wins, but he knows what to do in the right situations. I feel like he can be calm when needed, but obviously everyone has emotions. But I feel like when he needs to be, he can be calm and adapt to the right situations.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's an actual NASCAR fan, which we don't really see. We haven't seen in league racing very much recently. I mean, most of the people that are new that's been joining are from like F1 or like a whole nother country, and they don't really watch NASCAR like that. Oh, can you remember that guy from Kellogg's?
With their skills, like they could definitely be a little worse and not know how NASCAR works as well. So I definitely think that definitely affects how new drivers have been racing nowadays. But I like seeing the NASCAR fans coming to join these leagues. It adds that little level of experience and knowledge of the sport. I really like that. It makes the leagues just a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Well, let me check one more thing really quick. Well, I mean, we've seen four races now, technically 3 points paying races, but just overall, do you want to rate each race and kind of just how is the season going so far, and how do you project the rest of it to go? Kind of in like maybe like a viewership ratings, maybe like how the racing product will be, kind of just like the morale of the series.
I think the next couple of races that we have in line here, we're gonna have maybe a couple of cautions, but I think maybe some racing product in the front is gonna be pretty good. Like the Coke 600 is only 5 races into the season. We just finished Phoenix, so that's actually just after Nashville. I think Nashville is gonna be all right with the front drivers. I don't know how the back drivers are gonna drive. I feel like I project that there's gonna be maybe a like mid pack kind of back farther group that's going to be battling way too aggressively near the start.
Yeah,
No
I can
reason.
I can see that. I definitely feel like some of these back drivers, maybe some of the new drivers to the series are gonna try to push that edge, try to kind of maybe get a feel for the series, maybe get a feel for the game, but maybe they'll push it just a little too far. But I also agree with that front pack. I definitely think there'll be quite a few drivers up front. They know what they're doing. They know what they have to do. And it's I think what you said is just about perfect. I think the next couple of races we have up here, especially being pretty simple, like cookie cutter tracks, those should be pretty good races. They're pretty long races back to back, but maybe the road course and short track right behind those two races, maybe those will be a little tough. I think the racing product could still be good with skill. Skill though, skill is going to be the name of the game. If you're good, you're going to get good results.
The thing that I think people will need to know, considering Rex, is to get practice on Charlotte and figure out braking points for turn 3 and 4, and remember to lift before like right when you see the cars in front of you lift, or maybe just a little earlier before your braking points so you don't cause a wreck or something. Because turn 3 and 4, it's insanely tight compared to turn 1 and 2. You have to get on the brake a little bit.
Yeah, definitely a lot different than Heat 5 was. Heat 5 had a lot of different ways to drive the car, and I definitely like NASCAR 25 a lot more. Just the way you have to drive the track is a lot more skillful, and you have to be a lot more better at just being able to feel the track and being able to drive fast. I mean, it's pretty simple what I'm trying to say, but just the way they make it more realistic is it's a cool element to make it to separate the field and make it less because in Heat 5 we saw a lot of drafting races. I think that was because of how close the skill was. Because I don't know, like Heat 5 there was like it's all kind of the same. You run the same line and you run the same lap times. It's kind of but here in NASCAR 25, it's separated the field just enough where you can have skill and whoever can drive the corners and the track better is going to come out on top. And I really like that part of it.
I love that. I love that part of NASCAR 25 also. Seeing different skill levels and actually, yeah, getting a rating on the drivers, basically.
One more fun thing we could do to end off this podcast. I think we should do a round of 8, round of 6, round of 4, and champion prediction at the start of the season so we can kind of look back on this at the end of the season. First, who do you think is going to make the playoffs?
The round of 8. I think. I don't think Cobra is gonna show up to every race. I think. Okay, I'll start at number 1. I think number 1 going into the round of 8 will be. I think we'll get Cade at number 1.
I like that. I definitely see that.
I don't know if NLS is gonna have the best round of 8, but I'll give second to you, considering how many points you already have and for how tight you, NLS, and Cade have kind of already been. I'll
Yeah, I
give
see
you
that as well.
second, and then NLS with maybe a closer third, but not quite. Then at fourth, I'll keep Bryce right where he is. Not
I like
Glaze or
that.
anything, but I'll put myself up to fifth, just like lurking behind, not quite up there,
Yeah,
unless
I see
something
that.
changes. But yeah, we'll have Mopar in sixth, and then I guess Sam and Joshua if they keep showing up. But hopefully we get
Did
G
you
Cool
you
up in
forgot
number
about
two.
NASCAR F1 fan? I feel like
I
we
did, I
talked about
did,
it. We
I
talked
did.
about him a little too much to
Yes,
forget about
yeah,
him in the
I'll put
playoffs.
him. Maybe I'll put him just in front of Bryce because of the consistency. So I'll move Bryce back to fifth, and then I'll put myself in sixth, leaving Mopar in seventh, and in eighth for the final spot. I think I'm gonna grab G Cool, and we're gonna see a flip out of him, and he's gonna make the round of 8.
That's gonna be nice. I feel like that'd be a fun story to watch. I feel like it's just ironic how you forgot about NASCAR F1 fan. That just proves how underrated he is and how like quietly consistent he is. I'm gonna have to agree with you for most of those picks. I think my playoffs is pretty simple. I feel like it's gonna be me, Cade, or possibly. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a long shot here. I think it's gonna be the top three. The top four are all gonna be up in the top four. I don't know what order it's gonna be, but I think the top four are gonna stay the same entering the playoffs. I think it's gonna be you and LS gonna be up there as well. And then I think Mopar is going to get in as well. And then for the eighth spot, I think ESMN is going to stay in barely. So I think that'll be a fun round of 8, especially ESMN making his first playoffs in Valvoline. I think this might be Mopar's first playoffs as well. So this will be a really a lot of fun stories to watch. But there is one wild card in this round that we should talk about. It's the Chicago Street Course. We go to Martinsville and Chicago for this race. So we can talk about those, but then we can also talk about how does that affect who use. What are your predictions for the round of 6, and how do those races affect those predictions?
The round of 6 races, like going into the round of 4,
No,
or
like the round of 8 races, like Martinsville and Chicago going into round of 6. Like, how are those going to affect who makes it to the round of 6?
it definitely is points dependent going into those 2 races. Like the drivers who need points before, they just need to know how to perform on tracks like those without getting into the chaos that is bound to happen at some point during those races.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think the chaos is going to be huge, and I feel like we could possibly see one of the contenders get stripped of a championship opportunity because he messed up at Chicago or got bumped out of the way at Martinsville or something possibly out of his control snagging the championship away from him. And I feel like that could be any of the top four, and I don't know who that is. Who do you think is going to make it to the round of six?
The round of six. Throwing me a bone here, Milk. Round of six, that it's gonna be tough. I feel like it's gonna be tough for the cut. Very, very tough. I think you NLS and Cade and Bryce and F1 fan are kind of locks
Yep, that's
for
five
now.
already.
F1
That's
fan
kind of
is
crazy. Already
yeah
at five.
yeah Milk F1 fan. Well, okay, I'll do it in order. I'll go. I think Cade extends the lead, and then like going back to my points here, off of Milk's. I think Milk will keep his lead. I think we'll get NLS moved up to second. If he wasn't already, I don't remember. And then we'll get, or no, I meant to say Cade in second, and then we'll have NLS, and then I think Bryce might get around F1 fan, considering that speed off of the super speedways, because that's where he was getting spun and losing points the most, and he's still up there. And then I think I'll be up there too, for at least hopefully the final spot.
I like all those
Round of six.
predictions. I agree with all those. I don't really have anything different. I think it's really close for the top four. NLS is going to have a lot. He has a lot of work to do, but plenty of time to make it. We are running out of some time here, but we do have just enough time. I agree. I mean, I would talk about my round of six predictions, but they're just the same as you. I feel like ESMN and Mopar are going to get cut from the playoffs in the first round. And then going to the championship four, we have a couple races to decide the championship four, and they're pretty tough tracks. And two crown jewels back to back. We have the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis, which is a pretty skillful track. I mean, you can't be bad and win that race. It's definitely there's a lot of draft, but you can't take the day off and expect to get a good result. And then you have the Southern 500, probably the most skill-based race in the season. Who do you think could win those races, and who do you think is going to the championship for?
Well, right when you figure out that how to drive that Indy track, it is super easy to not get on that wall and run it super fast. Like, I figured out the line. I mean, I don't think there's any braking, but most people are braking going into turn one or braking coming off the long back straightaway or stuff like that. But I just don't like. I find the track is super fast right when you figure out how to run it, and it is quite simple. It's simple when you figure it out. It's just gonna take practice from other drivers and more experience. But the Southern 500, that is gonna be very, very hard for a lot of people. Like, even the front runners are gonna struggle. That one, it's not. It's
That's going to
not
be a tough race.
for anyone.
Yeah, that's going to be a grueling battle, I feel like. And going to the championship race, I mean, after we picked the Final Four, I mean, Miami has always been kind of a wild card in the championship, but we definitely, in the Heat 5 days early in the Valvoline Cup Series history, we saw some dominant performances at that racetrack. Do you think that the champion will have a dominant performance at Miami to take the championship?
I don't think so. I think it'll be lots of tight battling. I think. Well, we got to pick a round of four here, Milk.
That is true. I wanted to preview. That is true, actually. I should have done the round of four before that. With your current round of six, who is going to make the championship four and fight for the first ever National 25 Valvoline Cup Series championship?
I think I only said five, not six. I think I messed up. But we'll throw ESMN in there too.
Okay.
I think number one seed for the championship. Cade.
I agree with that. I feel like he has the pace.
Okay. Number kind of tied seeds here. 'Cause I haven't seen you two battle, but I'll go with you and NLS kind of tied for second and third. I think NLS, when it comes down to one race at Homestead, he could win this championship. I mean, I've seen him race at Homestead. It's crazy. And then for my fourth spot, this one's kind of hard, but I think Bryce is going to make it in if he shows up to every race.
I definitely think
So
Bryce
my final
has
picks
shown it.
are going to be you, NLS, Cade, Bryce.
Yeah, I agree with those picks. That's the same four I would have chosen. I feel like you and F1 fan are gonna have a really good run in those two races. I feel like you both have the skill to be up there, and you'll both be very close to cut line. But if one of you guys wins, that's gonna knock out a favorite. If like I mean, it's so tight for the top six that the top four are they're a little bit ahead of you and F1 fan, like a little bit. But I mean, Indianapolis and Southern 500, you guys both still have pace to win. Like they might have consistency or be skilled enough to be fast at a lot of racetracks, but I know that you two are adaptable and that basically everyone who makes the playoffs, there's a chance for all of them to win a race and upset some of these favorites, especially with some of those wild card races. I have to agree with you for your championship picks. I would pick the same four. I would pick me, Cade, Bryce, and NLS to fight it out at Miami. But if NLS doesn't make enough races, I gotta throw you in. I feel like you have the raw pace to outrun F1 fan if it comes down to a skill based battle. One final question here. Who's winning the championship at Miami? And will it be dominant or will it be a close battle?
I don't know. With the championship fours we just picked, it's crazy. That's a crazy
It's a
four.
toss up. I feel like it's a toss up.
Yeah, 100%. Especially without like any crazy formats or anything. But I'll give it to. Mm, I think.
Oh,
Oh,
it's a tough decision. I have my pick if you want to hear it, and then you can think of yours.
I'll give mine to Cade as long
That's
as he
yeah, that's
sticks
a good
around.
choice.
This is not who you're gonna pick, though.
No, it's
I
not
can
who I'm gonna
tell.
pick. You might think I'm gonna pick someone else than what I'm gonna say. I'm picking Bryce. Bryce is coming back, and he showed the speed. He has shown his speed. I mean, we all know he's fast, and we know he knows how to win championships. He went 3 straight seasons in Valvoline Cup Series with runner-up finishes, and then finally won the cup. He knows how to win. He knows what it feels like to not win. Bryce knows what to do. He's been dominant. He's been slow. He's been everywhere you possibly can as a league racer. Bryce is my pick to win this championship. And is there any
You
closing
know, I
thoughts
think
you
Bryce
have?
is just. I think Bryce is just very unlucky. I think,
I agree with that.
like looking back at his stats, his leg has screwed him over. Something has always went wrong for him, especially on these super speedways where something can go wrong. He, I see it in him. Maybe something could go wrong and screw him over, or maybe something could go right for once for him and his team, and get him that championship, like what you were saying.
I agree with that. I feel like possibly it could be the turning point in his luck. If it still sticks around for that long, this is a long season. We're talking like 15 weeks ahead from now. But do you have anything else you want to talk about for this first podcast episode?
I think I'm done here.
Well, I feel like we covered everything we can to open up this season. I hope you all enjoyed watching this first episode we have here. Leave your thoughts anywhere possible about what are your picks for the playoffs, the race winners, all that fun stuff. Thank you all for watching this podcast, and I hope you have a great day. We'll see
And
you on
like and
Friday.
subscribe.
Okay, we'll see you on